Welcome back to Data to Decisions. In the previous video, we discussed about our project to convert raw data from the US Bureau of Labor Statistics website into an effective and insightful report within Microsoft Excel. So we'll be executing first step in this video, which is to collect the data from this website and then make sure that it is clean enough to use for our report. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is to copy this URL for the website page where we're going to get the data from. I'm going to go into Excel in a brand new workbook, and I'm going to go to the data ribbon, get data from web. So I'm going to click on this. Excel will ask me what is the URL where I will be asking Excel to pull the data from. I'm going to paste that URL and then hit OK to let Excel go and grab the data that is available on the website. So let's, for example, take a look at the website again. This is the table that we want the data we extracted from. We don't need to see the other pieces of information on this page. We just want that table. So going back to Excel, already Excel has found that there is a table of data. Again, quickly scanning through, we know that this is exactly the table that we want. But instead of directly loading, I want to do transform because this option opens up PowerQuery, which is within Excel, but it'll open in a new window for you. And within PowerQuery, we can do a lot of the data manipulations, data cleanups and everything, data exploration um, much more efficiently. So for example, I want to look at this data that is already being loaded. I want to look at the state and area column and make sure that I understand how many states are there, how many state values are they clean, are there duplicates, are there any errors? All of those things around the data quality is much easier to do within Power Query. So for example, as soon as I selected the state and area column, you saw that there is a list of column statistics that became available. There are other ways to do this in Excel, but Power Query makes it easy because you can just select the column and see the count, the errors, empty, and everything. One thing that immediately strikes me is that there are 59 values. There are 50 states, and then there is District of Columbia, and then there are some territories, but still 59 seems too high. So let me take a look at the values there, and you'll see quickly that there is California and there is Los Angeles, Long Beach. So clearly, it is not a clear, complete list of states. It includes certain metro areas also. So if our goal is to only report on the states and territories and not of metro areas, then I want to be able to remove those metro and areas out of this list. There are multiple ways to do it. So as with anything within Excel, there are many, many ways to accomplish the same thing. In this case, you could simply go and then select and filter out the ones that you don't want in your report. That's a method that will work as long as you're doing this as a one time and you're not going to do it again. And you, even if you're doing it again, you know that the source data will never change. In those scenarios, you can just go and filter them out. So that's easy. But there's another way. For example, if I have a list of state names and I only want to report on them, I can bring that into this Power Query and make that work also. So let me do that approach. And in your case, you can choose whichever method applies. So what I'm going to do is to close and load. And this will allow Excel to load the data. You will not be able to work within the Excel sheets if the Power Query window is open. I hope that at some point they will change that. Right now, it is not possible, so I have to close that and then come into our usual Excel interface. And then here you see that the table has been loaded as a query, and then you can see all the data as a table in one of the sheets newly created by Power Query. So all that is great. Now, I have already uh, prepared a list of states that I want to use for this report. So that is here, and you can see here that there are 52 values. So I have the 50 states, and I have the District of Columbia. I also have Puerto Rico. I added it. Unemployment data is available for Puerto Rico, so I just decided to add it. The concept is what that matters more. If you have a list of values that you want to report on, now let's see how we can do it. I have this in a table. I've already converted it into an Excel table with the name states. What I'm going to do now is go to the data ribbon, get data from table, and automatically this table of state names is loaded into our query and as a separate query. So that's good. Now, how am I going to use this? I'm going to go back to the labor force data query again and do merge query here. And why do I want to merge? So in Excel, if I want to do a join in PowerQuery, if I wanted to do a join between this labor force data and our list of states, I can use the merge queries option. So merge state and area is the column in the first table, state is the column in the second table. They both are same. In this case, because I've brought the data in, I'm just going to ignore the privacy levels for now. If you have state and area, and then the state as the two columns that have the same value of list of states. I have selected them. I want to do inner. So inner only matching rows means only 52 rows from the first table will be output. So I'll show you after it's done. The important thing is you choose inner because you only want the states which are in our list of states also. So let's say okay, and let's just run this through again. If in Power Query, you can go to the previous step before the merge queries. If I click on the change type, it shows me that there are 59 rows at the bottom left. If I go to the next step, it becomes 52 rows. So exactly what we want. So I think we're going in the right direction. So let's just go to this last column here. This is because we merged with the states table. Power Query will show that table. And if I wanted to bring any column from there, I can. But in this case, we only have the list of states. There's nothing else there. So I don't really need this anymore. I think the purpose of bringing that in is already achieved. So I'm going to right click and remove that because I don't need to keep that. And now we are done with the cleanup of the data. I'm just going to give this a name called data, the name of the query. The same name will go into the table. So that's why I'm naming it data. Uh, and now I'm going to go and say close and load. And now you will see that Excel will pull that instead of 59 rows loaded. It should get updated pretty hopefully soon into 52 rows. My computer gets a little bit slow as I'm recording the video as well at the time. So there you go. It is loading the data and it'll be 52 rows. Go back to the sheet and rename that sheet also as data. Keeps it simple. Now in this data table, the name has been automatically changed. We have the state and we have 52 rows of data and we have all the necessary columns we need. Okay, so everything looks good. I wanted to just make it into a different table design. So there we go. What we have done is we looked at the data. We found that the states, there were more than just the 50, states. There are other information that we didn't want. So we found a way to remove it. Another thing I totally forgot about would be you can go back to the Power Query by, double clicking here or right click and edit. So I'm going to double click. We saw how when I clicked on the state and the area, I can see the column statistics, right? One more thing is the column quality. If you don't see these items on your screen, go to the view ribbon, make sure that the column profile and column quality are added. If your data set is very large, sometimes the step can slow things down, but we are dealing in this example with a very small data set. So I've checked those two on and I can see that there is no error. If you see if Excel Power Query detects any errors or invalid or empty rows, it will actually highlight them here. So you can see a solid green line below the column names. As I scroll through there is no error, no invalid values. Another thing you want to check for zeros. Let's say, for example, in the labor force data, if there is a zero, that's doesn't look like it's right data because that's not likely to have a zero labor force for an entire state. So those things will be warning flags, but you want to make sure that you review the data and explore it and make sure that some errors or outliers like that doesn't happen. And you can use the column statistics here. For example, the minimum value and the maximum value are automatically calculated. You want to make sure that the minimum value is not zero or below zero. So that would mean that it's incorrect data. So make sure that you explore the data, make sure it's clean enough. Now that we have done that, we are ready to move on to the next steps.